think I'm gonna try, and we're gonna attempt this next year or this year if you're seeing, depending on when I post this. It is currently still 2024. I may be posting this in 2025. We'll see. Is to have all of my Deity decks out sort of in a container. I have like a little basket that I normally just keep like what cards I'm working with the month, but I think I'm just gonna have it be like the home for these decks for the year. And work with at least one a week. I might only switch them out monthly. I don't know. We'll see. We'll also see. I wanted to weekly readings with them. I just, again, we'll see. I'm not making promises to myself, because that is the quickest way for me to not do a thing. So I'm just gonna show you all of my like sort of like deity decks, although two of them just sort of encompass not only a couple of them focus not only on deities but also mythical heroes. So there's that, but we're just gonna through all of them and I'll just show them all off. So we're gonna start with this one. This is the Mythos deck. This is one of the ones that also has heroes. It's Greek mythology. It's this really simple like vector artwork. So yellow is heroes. Blue is gods. And then here, I'll just show a couple off of sort of all of them while we try to find a monster. I was for a while doing daily or weekly pulls with this. You see, and the monster stays red color. At one point I was trying to do like daily pulls with these, sort of as I felt needed. These do have, there's not a guidebook for this, but there is sort of like an overview of their story, which I really find helpful and useful and interesting. But yeah, so this is just this deck that I just kind of found at random. I say random. I knew this deck was coming out, but my local bookstores happen to have it, and I was like, oh, I'll just like buy it. So that is the Mythos deck. It'll be interesting to see doing like bigger rings with this, because again, normally I actually like as a single pull. But I'll be interested to see like what I also want to play around with like building a spread for this practice. That's just gonna be, I don't know if I'm gonna have time between now and the end of the year to actually like do that in a way that feels like I might look at some spreads for deity work and like mix and match parts of that. But so then let's talk about the newest one I just got today actually. This is the, hang on, I'm gonna grab the actual box. This is the Dark Goddess deck. I've seen this like everywhere on Instagram mainly. And I was like, ooh, that's pretty. And then I saw it in the bookstore the other day and I was like, and by the other day, I mean literally today, I was looking at this. These are the backs. And it's just black and white sort of pencil sketches, and I really like it a lot. There's some that are not in other decks that I have, which is kind of interesting. I wish there was a pronunciation guide for some of these, but I also kind of wish there was a little bit more in the guidebook personally, but it's not a bad guidebook. There are definitely guidebooks I have a little bit more of an issue with in this. I also look, there's a keyword, because some of these do not have keywords. But yeah, it's really pretty. And I love having different goddess decks that have different vibes. And I really just like the simplicity and like the black and white for that one. This one, okay, so this one's a mix of goddess and archetypes and also just I think some fictional characters as well. But I'm pulling this in because there is some goddesses. This is the Wild Women Oracle. As you can see, we've got like Artemis, but then we also have like the Sacred Rebel. So I don't know that I will pull this one as much as some of the other ones, but because there are some goddesses in here, I did decide to pull this one in for this work. We'll see if I really end up pulling it. Right, we've got Goddess of the Incarnate, Anastasia, Sirens. So right, it's a little bit more archetypal. There's like November Sanctuary, but then you've got Persephone, right? Like it's kind of a weird mix of things. But yeah, we've got, like I said, it's got enough goddesses that I'm choosing to count it as a goddess deck, even though it's really not. But for this capsule, I think that it might. Sorry, I have a stack of cards that have not gone back in their boxes for a while. So I was like, well, while I have this box out, let me grab the ones that were sitting in a pile They were for a thing that I was doing that I then stopped doing because it's me and I cannot keep to anything for more than like a couple months at a time. Which is why I'm not sure how well it's going to work out, but we're going to try. Next up, we have the Women of Myth Oracle. This one is, I think I still have it divided. Yeah, this one I typically, the way I had been using it was that I had divided. I'm still slowly edging it. I was edging them to match the fronts of the cards. So I still haven't sorted out into goddesses. And then villains. Yeah, no, heroes, heroines. And then monsters. I was doing a reading for this for a while. I don't remember if it was the full moon or the new moon. And I would pull one from each, which is why it's still in this order. But I stopped doing that. Because even though like I have like a app that tells me what moon phases are, sometimes I just didn't have the spoons or I would forget to do it. So that's why I stopped doing that. But of course, after I made like an entire section for in my journal for it. So joke's on me. So next we're gonna go with the Femfolk Oracle. This used to have a different name. This is the newer edition. But apparently the guidebook did not go back in here last time I used it. So who knows where the guidebook is? I just pulled out all the cards. So it's these like gorgeous, these are the backs. Actually, let's move this there. But yeah, as you can see, I have a lot of goddess decks, and I have a lot of variety in the artwork for my goddess decks. And I really like this one. I haven't used this one a whole bunch, just because it feels very much more like fall, and then like, I don't know why, like in the fall, I typically drop off my tarot practice. Like, it's bad. But yeah, I really, really like this one. Again, there's keywords. But yeah, it's a nice one. Like I said, this is sort of, we're showing off my collection because I can, because I also plan on, like I said, using these decks next year, but I didn't figure out where I put the guidebook for this. So that'll be interesting. Okay, so this one, I don't know how I'm going to use it next year. Actually, most of this deck is actually in this pile. So this is I don't even remember where I found this, or I bought this from. This is from like a little like indie seller, and again, I don't remember where I found this even. So these are the backs, and there's just 12 of them, and each of them have a zodiac. But it is just a tiny little deck, which is why I don't know if I'm gonna really use it. At one point, I was displaying it with like the different zodiacs as we were moving through the year, but I stopped doing that because I can't be bothered. But I might do that, try it again this year. I don't know. Yeah, so there's just 12 of them, which is why I don't really pull this out a whole lot, because it's a very slim little thing, and I never know what to do with it, because there's like also not keywords, so like I can't really do like a reading with it, unless I just like do an intuitive reading, and like I'm not always good at that. Okay, this is another one that's been my collection for a very long time that I kind of stopped using, because I bought it for a specific purpose, and then I stopped using it. I also separated this deck. So, this is the Modern Goddess Oracle, and I took all the archetypes out of this deck, and I just put them in the bottom. I don't use them. I used to at one point use them, and then I stopped using them, and I just put them in the bottom. These are the backs of the deck. This is an Ethany deck, in case the backs did not make that abundantly clear. Oops, I put these ones. So yeah, there are no keywords. There are keywords in the guidebook, but Ethany specifically did not put them on the cards so that you weren't locked into our interpretation. And you can just use these as like altars if you wanted as well. I, for a while, was doing readings around my like period, the start of my period, and I would specifically pull one of these for that reading, and I stopped doing that a while ago just because I wasn't getting anything out of it anymore, and I just kind of stopped using this deck. Like, it just kind of started sitting around. So at some point I definitely want to like get back into using this deck, and like in actual readings. But I just haven't yet. And, you know, maybe it sitting in with the rest of these will make that happen. Because I also don't even know, like, what I would pair it with. But I also think for these, like, this, like, weekly reading thing, it might just be me pulling just from the oracle itself. So, I don't know. I haven't figured out. I just had this idea today that this is something that I want to do this year. So I don't know what it's going to, like, look like yet. Another Deity deck in my collection is Krista Chronicles' Divine Ephemera. These are the backs. They're gorgeous. They actually, okay. I try not to talk about my Oracle deck that I'm making, but Krista's, the back for this deck heavily inspired the back of my own deck. I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, I think Krista does a good job with this. And it's just lovely. And I love working with it. And, yeah, it's just really good. I love, there's a flower or like a plant for each of them as well. It's just really good. Okay, so next up, this was actually my first goddess deck. And it is the Legendary Ladies. It's this right here. It's a little bit more cartoonish than my other ones in my collection. But honestly, I think that makes it feel more like a hug to me personally than some other decks do. Like, if I just need, like, if I'm feeling, like, really tender and I really want to work with, like, Divine Feminine energy, this is the deck I go to. There's just something about, like, the more cartoonish artwork that just feels really warm to me. I know there's some people that think that this feels, like, really, not honoring, but to me it doesn't. And maybe it's just because it was my first, goddess deck, but I don't know. It's just, to me, it feels very warm. I did edge this deck in this sort of like brownish gold color that I really quite love. Okay, next, and not quite last, because there's two more after this, is the Witches of Legend. This one, sorry, is like mostly here. Yeah, so this is just like a black and white. It's a little bit on the smaller side compared to some of the other decks in my collection. It's got these gold gilded, and like just, it's just a really good, it's another sort of like, I almost didn't get the dark goddess because I have this one, but because the dark goddess is more like a pencil drawing, and this is like, has like these flecks of gold. Also there's just like different goddesses between these decks, so it doesn't quite feel the same, but I also really just love this deck. I also love, there's a couple, like, there's a couple like characters from Arthurian myth. We also have like we have the Sea Witch, and we also have Maleficent. I really like that a lot. And yeah, this is the Witches of Legend, and it is one of my favorites. Now to actually probably next up we have Ancient Feminine Wisdom. This is just Greek goddesses, and I think a couple heroines. These are the backs. This deck is out of print, although you can sometimes find it for really good prices. I found this still sealed for retail on, like, I just happened to luck out. There was like an occult store from New Jersey that just happened to be selling this on Etsy. But yeah, it's gorgeous, and I love like the softer palette. Sort of feels like storybook almost. And yeah, it's just Greek goddesses and heroines. And I really like it quite a bit. And then speaking of Greek myth, I cannot talk about Greek mythology and goddess decks and deity decks without talking about the Hellenic Oracle. If you've never seen the Hellenic Oracle, you're in for a treat. This thing, I have the full deck with the expansion. So it's a chonker. These are the backs. This was made by Thea at Goddess Tarot. It is absolutely just like one of my favorite decks, even though it is kind of a pain in the butt to shuffle because there's just so many cards. But I love this deck so much. It is just kind of like my favorite thing. Even if, again, shuffling it is a pain in my butt. Especially because I can't, like, riffle shuffle, so I'm, like, constantly overhand shuffling this thing. And sometimes I will drop cards, because of that. But, yeah. I just love it. It's so rich. And, yeah. Even if sometimes I will say, as much as I love this deck, and as much as, like, it's very rich. There are sometimes where, like, because sometimes I just don't know this as well as some of the other ones, there's times where it does. I'm not sure what it's trying to tell me, but I love this deck. I love this deck so much, and I'm so glad that I just traded myself and bought it last year, at the beginning of this year, or I guess at the end of last year, because it's just a favorite of mine, and yeah. So those are all of my Deity decks. Like I said, they're gonna live in a basket for the year. And we're gonna try to, like, at least once a month switch them out. We might try weekly. We'll see. We'll see how I feel. We'll see how we feel about it. But yeah, so these are all my Deity decks, like I said. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye!